Hello, listeners. Today, the pleasure of speaking with Leslie Logan, who is the co-founder of OnlinePilatesClasses.com, the first free online catalog of Pilates exercise tutorials where you can also find weekly Pilates classes and workshops. Leslie is a second-generation certified Pilates teacher, breathwork, habits, and mindset coach, and has been teaching Pilates since 2008. She has run multiple studios, trained hundreds of people to become teachers themselves, and has taught thousands of students around the world. When not teaching from her studio in Las Vegas, Leslie is hosting her podcast, Be It Till You See It, or traveling the world leading Pilates retreats. I am excited to dive into Leslie's fearless life and learn a little bit more about how she has crafted this incredible professional and personal journey. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Welcome to the Live Fearlessly podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Benjamin Ritter, and it's time to get fearless. Leslie, you mentioned that prioritizing ourselves. I don't know if you've taken a look at any of my taglines, but live fearlessly, live for yourself. I think we might be on the same page. What does prioritizing yourself mean for you?
Oh my goodness. Isn't that so fun how we find each other, the people like us, like who are wanting everyone to live their life, and somehow migrate in. Prioritizing yourself first is like filling your cup first. And I think that seems so simple. And then there's life and there's depending how old you are, like my mom is approaching 62, but she acts like she's 82, sometimes when it comes to some things. And then also like you have your business that you're growing. And what happens is people put everyone else first and then they're last. And then they wonder why they resent people around them or even the job that they have, or they feel like other people have it easier than them. When really, if they actually just took the things that made them feel like a whole person and made those the number one priorities for themselves, and then they did everything else, they would realize that they could have all the things. They could have the energy for all the people and they could have the generous love they want to give. I describe it like if you have a cup of water and it's totally full and it's a hot day and someone goes, "Can I have some water?" You're like, "Sure, have some." Or if somebody bumps into you, you're like, "Oh, no big deal," because you have it. It's full. But if you have a half filled or less cup of water and someone's like, "Can I have some?" You're looking at them like, "Don't you see my cup is half filled?" And if someone
Mhm.
bumps into you, you're like, "Oh, I can't believe you wouldn't think about like you didn't see me here." And we're just shorter people. And so for me, prioritizing myself first comes in the form of a lot of self-care that happens to be with movement and Pilates and the things that make me feel like a whole person. For other people, it might be getting out and seeing the sunshine. Whatever that is, you got to make sure it's the priority. And oftentimes if we ask people like what are their top priorities? I'm sure you've done this. Benjamin, like they go, "Oh, my family, my partner, this that like when do they get to them?" And like they should be in the top 3.
It is strange that if someone like bumps into you on the street, you get angry. Or if someone walked up to you in a restaurant and you're eating like the last bite of your cake or your sandwich, you're like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But then we give up our time.
All the time.
Yeah, we make compromises that are really sacrifices and we blame other people for it instead of ourselves. It's strange. It's really strange.
Well, and also, I don't know about you, but like, so I was in retail first. It was like one of my big first jobs, and I got paid by the hour, right? And I got double time, like overtime, holiday time, vacation time, all this different stuff. Like I didn't work without knowing how much I was getting paid. And then some of us go into service-based businesses, or we've created a business for ourselves, and we don't realize that like you too can put a price on your time in a way that allows you to understand like what am I giving up here and who am I giving it for, and why do I feel like they deserve the time that I've set aside for me? We wouldn't do it for like people who clock in and out would be like, hold on, how much you want to pay me for me showing up an hour early? No, but for those of us who maybe aren't working on an hourly basis or we're doing things that are outside of what you would consider a paycheck, we give it up so quickly and we don't protect it for ourselves. But quite honestly, I think that it is I think it's trained behavior by watching other people. And I also think a lot of people worry about what other people will think about them. And it's really cool. There's this really cool thing that happens when you don't care what others think about you. You start to only have people in your life who really think you're cool and want to support what you're doing and want to be around that energy. Because the people who wonder, like, who are you? Who do you think you are that you could go to the gym in the morning before you go to work? Those people, they either change who they are and join in on the fun, or they remove themselves from your life because you're like, I don't have anything in common with this person.
Hmm. Hmm. When did you start putting yourself first?
It wasn't right away. I think I'm an oldest child of three, and I kind of had to raise myself a little bit. So I definitely didn't put myself first when I was younger, because I couldn't. I was kind of like I was raised to be a role model for my siblings. And then I got to a place in my life. My parents didn't have a lot of money. And so if I wanted to have things outside of what they could afford to buy me, I had to go get a job. And so I really didn't put myself first because I was like, I'm gonna put this job first because I need this money. But when I had money and I realized, wow, look what I can do with this. And I went to college paying it for myself. Like I paid my way down there. That's when I was like, if I do the things that I want to do, then I make myself a better person for other people. So I really started to figure that out in college, being on my own and seeing what I liked and what was exciting to me. And then because I was broke and paying for my own way through college and going to a private university in Orange County, I had to get a job and I started working for someone else. But the cool thing is like when you work in retail, there's like certain hours you work and certain hours you don't work. And so I got into the habit of working during holidays and not really having the vacation time when I wanted vacation time. So when I quit that job and became a Pilates instructor, I decided really quickly, like, I'm going to figure out how my business can allow me to prioritize the things that are most important to me. So how can I travel during Christmas? How can I travel during the best times of the year? How can I do this? And so I think when I fully stepped into it after like years of not and then trying and not, it's when I became a Pilates instructor in 2008, which is a year that probably many people would think like you were prioritizing yourself first when everything was going down the financial hole. But I discovered like, if not now, then when? Right. It's like somebody who is waiting for the perfect time to like change how they eat or change how they are going to go to the gym or start a new book or start a new hobby. There's not really a perfect time. Our lives are kind of all over the place, anyways. So I just decided when I was starting to teach Pilates, I was like, this is now the time that I'm going to actually make the business work around when I want to teach and where I want to teach and whom I want to teach. And then when you start to do it and you start to enjoy it, it gets easier. It like actually is really exhausting to go back the other way.
You had a taste of freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting whenever someone says like when everything's burning, that's when, the phoenix rises. It's like despite it being 2008, you quit and started becoming a Pilates instructor. But what really was behind that decision? Because a lot of people might be like, do I jump off this ledge and then realize they have wings, or like realize that it wasn't really a ledge, it was actually like a stairway or walkway or something. And
I love all
um,
those ideas. I it kind of yeah, I also think that sometimes like the Phoenix rises because it has to, you know. I so when I discovered Pilates, or maybe it discovered me, I really loved my job. I thought I would be in retail and end up buying. I just think that there's something so cool about designing and buying and curating collections for people to get stuff for themselves or for others, and it brings them joy. So I really thought I was gonna do that forever, but I fell in love with Pilates, and so I was kind of trying to afford my expensive hobby, and my teacher was like, you should teach this. And I was like, really? I could? And so what happened is I thought, oh, I'll teach part-time. I'll teach like 4 or 5 hours a week, and then that will pay for the 4 to 5 hours I want to go. And then I'll work on this job that I have. What happened is I got so busy teaching people Pilates that I had to pick. My partner at the time was like, do you realize you work 6 days a week? You work 14-hour days. between the two jobs and I never see you. You're not a doctor. Like you don't even make doctor money. What are you doing? So in 2009, so still not a great time, I had to make the decision to quit my air quotes real job and teach Pilates. And it was one of the best things I ever did because I did some math and I was like, I can actually, if I don't get any more clients, I can pay my bills on what I'm making, but also I'm about to get rid of 50 hours of another job and the commute that comes with it and, all the expenses that come when we work in retail, you just like eat out and buy things you don't need. So I bet you I'm making more money if I if I don't have to do that. And so that's when I quit my job because I had created enough of a runway with my, Pilates business that I could do it. And here's the thing, everyone. If you just do some math, I hate math. Like I promise you, I changed my degree in college so I didn't have to do statistics. Like I hate math. But if you do a little bit of simple math, you can actually see like when is the breaking point when I have to jump and realize that this isn't a ledge, it's a stair to the next thing. Like I think a lot of people don't actually do the math and they build up this whole thing that it's going to be harder, it's going to take longer because we're told that, like we're told it's money doesn't grow on trees, like a penny saved is a penny earned. We're always taught everything is about it takes time and it has to be hard, and it can be. And I'm not going to say like I sit here talking to you all as Pilates instructors, no business problems, like every day something doesn't go right, but I also don't think that things take as long as we think, especially when we are putting one foot in front of the other and prioritizing the thing that we wanted to do, not the thing that our aunt or uncle or negative friend who told us, oh, you're never able to make a living doing that. If we listen to them, certainly it will take a really long time. But if we listen to like why we got into what we're doing and make that, top of mind, it makes it so much easier to show up on the bad days. And it makes it really easier to take that leap.
What a great point. And it's kind of like facing the fear of what if I really did this and looking at the numbers to say, well, how would I do this? And I know a lot of people kind of in the fitness world that don't think they can make a living in fitness. And I go, no, 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 no. You just found the problem to create a solution from. Can you pay for your bills? Can you survive? Can you put a roof over your head? Can you meet the standard of living you want initially? Great. Now you're just saying, how do I increase my revenue? How do I make
Mm-hmm.
more money doing the thing that I enjoy doing?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so walk me through like, so you figured out I could make enough money doing this thing. And so you're doing that thing. And like, what's the next milestone or evolution that showed up?
Yeah, so I started teaching Pilates just full time in 2009, and I was renting space. So when you're in the fitness industry, like you have a place where you can kind of take your own clients you find, then oftentimes you're an employee somewhere, which by the way is not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you get health insurance and benefits. Like I was working in a high-end fitness company, so I got a lot of perks for doing that. And I have my private business. And so the next big milestone is actually in 2016. So between then, I had found some success on being on YouTube. My husband was like, you should put videos on YouTube. No one is doing what you're doing. And I was like, there's so many people more famous than me that should be on YouTube. And he's like, I don't care about those people. I care about you. So I started putting videos on YouTube. And so in that like 8-ish years of having videos on YouTube and then getting on other people's platforms, I ended up getting hired to teach around the world. So I was traveling around the world a lot. So I clearly was becoming a not great employee. And I had to make the switch to going fully on my own. So 2016 is when I went, okay, I got to do this math again. And how do I let go of this employee gig where I have health insurance and 401k and all of this stuff to go fully on my own. And that's when I did that switch. And then by 2018, I opened up my own studio. I had my own online platform. And that's why I kind of opened my own studio so I could film in my own space. And, things were going slowly. I was definitely making the money I needed to make in LA and I was able to travel around the world. So I didn't think there was anything really to change, but I wanted to spend more time on my online Pilates platform because I wanted to increase accessibility for Pilates. Pilates and studios can be quite expensive. And it's not because Pilates is elitist, it's because the equipment is expensive. Just a reformer in my, like one of my reformers is almost $5,000 when you talk about tax, and then don't even get me started on shipping. So like it's just expensive to open a studio. And so I wanted to have a way for people to have access to Pilates wherever they were, and also when I was traveling. And so in 2020, in the beginning of 2020, I was going to shift how my business was so that I could actually just go full on the on OPC, onlinepilatesclasses.com. And then the universe decided that everyone was going to go focus on something new. So I had to close my beautiful studio in LA due to lockdowns. And, you're in a big city. I'm in a big city. Like there's just, when you're in a big city, it's really hard to, you can't, it's not like you're rural and you can just open things up. Things are there's just a lot of people on top of each other. And so um we weren't going to be able to reopen anytime soon. In fact, if I'd stayed in LA, it would have taken about almost 2 years to get to the capacity that I was at before that. And so we took the opportunity to move to Las Vegas and go all in on this dream of like, how do we create a place where people can get good quality Pilates and also hear how they can prioritize themselves first with their Pilates practice, and do it in a way that makes it accessible and affordable. And so that's where we're at today. We're still doing that, just in a different city. So it's quite a journey, and I can go into any of those different parts. But I hope what people take is like, there's like, you can stick around in something for a long time. Like I was an employee and renting space for a really long time, and I liked it. I did not feel the urge to change much of it. And I was learning a lot and getting a lot of strength and understanding the behind the scenes of how businesses work and fitness businesses work. And I got to use all of that information when I went on my own.
There's such a benefit. I work with a lot of individuals that are frustrated with their careers and they think that, okay, the only solution is to be my own boss, to manage my own time, to have this freedom. The only way to get that is to do it on my own. Well, hold on. Like, what are the things that you don't know that you could learn and have someone else pay you for like before that? Think of it as a journey. And how long were you kind of that employee? And then you said you kind of building your YouTube channel, but then it seems like this vision of Pilates accessibility like bloomed. And like, can you walk me through that timeline and
Yeah.
how that happened?
Yeah, I was an employee and I was working my way up the ranks of like being a Pilates teacher at a studio, and then running the studio, and then running 9 studios, and then running teacher training programs for them, and like seeing all the different sides of the business, how budgets are created, how do you hire and fire, like what are you considering, what marketing works, like all of that. That was from 2010. So I started working for them in 2009, but it was like the end. So I would just say 2010 until 2016. So 6 years of that. And then I was literally, literally just teaching people Pilates as a private instructor at renting space at someone's space. So what's really cool about that, if you're a true renter, a true independent contractor, I got to set my own rates. I got to do my own marketing. I got to find my own clients, and I got to do it at someone else's space. So I could really start to see like, how much money do I consistently make on the highs and the lows? And 2 years of that allowed me to see like, oh, I can totally do this and I'm making plenty of money. Why don't I invest in my own space? And so we all want it to happen yesterday. And I think like, I love what you said. Like, how can you go get paid to learn all of this stuff? How can you absorb all of it so you can really make the decision? And by the way, like there's absolutely nothing wrong with being an employee. The job that I had, my best friend in life, she still works for that company. So here it's like what, 2025. So it's almost been 10 years that I've been out of that, right? And she's still there. And I can see how much money she's making and the lifestyle she has. And I can see how that would be so awesome for the right person. And so I think, you said it earlier, but it's like, what do you want in life? And like maybe you have kids right now. And so maybe you need something super secure. Well, then what if you put, the reason why I'm doing this is because it gives me these benefits. So that's why I'm going to do this. And you can still start to percolate and dream up what the next thing will be. And when your kids are older, or you don't need so much guarantees in your income, which we could all argue that being employed is not a guarantee of anything, but the world thinks it is. And so you could actually do that. And then And then you have all this information, all this experience to take into what you want to curate. Even if it's something totally different, we all can agree that like our life experiences really do shape, and you can bring all of that in. My retail experience is totally why I'm able to do what I'm able to do now, because I'm like, oh, I know what margins are on products, and I know what commission looks like, and I know how you build all of that in because of my retail experience. I didn't learn that from my Pilates experience. You bring it all in and you can do your thing, and you don't have to. I think if we all can agree on like, why are we staying where we're staying or choosing to do the thing we're going to do, how does that give you the other things that are important in your life? You're not holding yourself back. But if you are, if you're staying there for the wrong reasons, just because you don't want to take a risk or it's
Hmm.
going to be hard, then you're of course going to feel frustrated and exhausted and resentful and all the things.
Yeah, so it's not 0 to 100, it's 0 to 100. It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's having a plan to prioritize yourself
Mhm.
instead of not having a plan and not prioritizing yourself.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, go on.
I was just going to say there's a book called The Middle, and I didn't finish it, and I don't think anyone really needs to. Maybe it's good. I haven't got to the end, but it's yellow. It's great. The cover of it is a graph. And if you look at the start of the graph and the end of the graph, it is going up. But if you look in the space between, it goes up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. So it's always, it ends on the up. But the middle is you're going on a high, you're on a low, you're on a high, you're on a low, you're on a high. And some of those highs and lows are really big and far apart. And some of them are like just a little high and a little low and a little high. But the goal is if your life, if you look at, if you take a step back and you skip the middle and you see, wow, I'm so much further than where I started, then it makes it easier to accept the highs and the lows and just know that like zero people are having the easiest time getting to where they're going. No one. Everyone is has obstacles and things that set them back, but it's like going to the gym. It's you got to build the muscle for the next thing. Or if you played video games, I only played Mario Brothers, so I only can say this. But if you look at how Mario Brothers worked back in the 90s, you would play a bunch of levels and you learn how to beat these different obstacles at these different levels, right? And then you get to the castle and all the things you learned how to beat came back and you got to test your muscles. And so what was an obstacle for you that maybe made you lose a little level several times, now you're like, oh, I know how to beat this one. And that's business and that's life, right? Like all the different things we go up against, if you can just take a second to see like, what am I learning from this and how is this going to help me, and then reflect, correct, and continue, you are going to end up higher than where you started. It just will happen.
Hmm. So you work probably with a lot of people that are afraid or embarrassed or for whatever reason to start their fitness journey or to start prioritizing themselves in that way.
Mhm.
Um, what helps people take that first step or second step or third step and then build that habit and kind of
Well,
get out of
it's
their own way?
Yeah, I think first of all, like I think a lot of people unfortunately have to get super frustrated with where they're at. But it has to be so uncomfortable you make a change. I really do think a lot of people that's where it's at, but I would like to say if you're listening to this and you're saying, "Oh, once I've lost weight, then I will start Pilates," or "Once I've gotten more flexible, then I'll start my workout thing," or "Once I've gotten stronger, then I will." Where do you think these things happen? They happen at the movement practice you want to be doing, right? Um, I don't know where we all got in our heads that we have to be good at something before we start something. I'm not actually sure where that came from, because when you're a kid, you allowed yourself to be a beginner. You allowed yourself to play t-ball, and run the wrong way. But like you're an adult and all of a sudden you should be good at the thing you're going to do. No, that's why there's experts. So how to build a habit though, that actually has some scientific things around it. And I think it's really important that we talk about it. So, first of all, anything that you want to do can be created by a habit, but it has to be made as small as possible. And you have to celebrate that you thought about it and that you tried doing it. You have to keep positive mindsets around it. So, what does that mean? It means if you are wanting to work out more and you forget to set your alarm for to an hour earlier so you can go to the gym, or you can get up and do some movement practice at home, and you get mad at yourself, oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't work out this morning. I didn't set the alarm. Da, da, da. Your brain actually takes the thing that you wanted to do that you're upset about and puts it in a bucket called that causes me stress, that causes me shame, that causes me negative feelings. So I'm going to forget about that thing. I'm not going to think about that thing because when I think about that thing, it makes me feel bad about myself. So if you want a movement practice or any goal to become part of your habit, you actually have to keep everything around it positive. You forgot to do it in the morning, but you thought about it. Oh my God, I'm so proud of myself. I thought about working out this morning. I'm amazing. Like you have to do that because you need the dopamine to actually get that thing to become a habit. Everything you do in life, including the habits you think are bad. BJ Fogg is who I study with. He wrote the book Tiny Habits and he's from Stanford. And he is also the person who trained the original founders of Instagram and a ton of other famous habit speakers. He said, like, there's no such thing as a bad or a good habit. Every habit we have serves a purpose. Like if you don't like how much you scroll on your phone, guess what? It is giving you the dopamine high that your brain is looking for. It's like taking a hit, right? And so you actually do need to figure out like what are the things I want to be doing and we find a way to make those as small as possible so we can get the perfectionist out of the way and we can do the best we can and actually have the opportunity of creating a habit. And then anything you don't want to have as a habit, you have to unravel. It's not a break. There's no way to break a bad habit. You actually have to go, what is prompting me to do this habit that I don't like about myself? Like, is it every time, my ex calls, it puts me in a bad mood. So I sit and binge out in front of Netflix. Okay. So what I can't control my ex calls, but what can I do instead that would be more like what I want to do? So every time my ex calls, I'm going to go get my nails done, or I'm going to go take myself to a movie that I wanted to do. Like I do something that makes me feel good, so that one, I'm not avoiding calls. I mean, I don't know why your ex is calling so much, but maybe you have kids, and so you can find different ways to create habits you want to have, and then the life you want to have that allows you to prioritize yourself first. But it cannot be all or nothing and you have to be willing to think like that like it's enough to put your tennis shoes on, even if you don't walk around the block once they're on. Like the habit is just putting the
Hmm.
tennis shoes on. We have to be able to start somewhere.
I wish I could credit this pod expert or podcaster on habit forming, and he was talking about the gym, and he's like, we want you to want the thing that you're going to do. So for the first week, you just think about going to the gym. For the second week, you put on your shoes like you're going to the gym and the clothes. The third
Mhm.
week, you drive to the gym, but you don't go in. The
Mhm.
fourth week, you walk in, but you don't work out. I was like,
Mhm.
wow, it's a process to build this habit. And you got to break it down to the most minuscule steps
You
to be
really
able to
do.
reprogram. Yeah.
You do because also like you have to figure out like maybe you think it needs to be in the morning, but maybe as you're putting everything on and you're getting to like the third step where you drive, you're like, wow, this traffic sucks.
Hmm.
Okay, so maybe we change the whole thing to the at your lunchtime. So we don't want to make it so perfect and set it up for all like we thought of everything and then you're like I can't even get to the gym at this time. Then you feel like a
Yeah.
failure. So it's I love whoever said that. It sounds a lot like somebody who's like BJ stuff. I mean like it's real, but the problem is that people are like that's not enough though.
Hmm.
It's like it's not enough for me to put my shoes on. That's not going to get me to my goals. Not yet, but you putting pressure on yourself to do something you haven't been able to figure out, like that's not going to do it either. We have to it takes time to add to the schedule, but then once you do and you start to feel super good about yourself, it becomes so much easier to do and to prioritize yourself and to prioritize your movement. And guess what? It makes it really hard for other people to take that away from you. My mom, she is like, when I come to visit, you are so busy. And I was like, well, I am working. I do work from home. Um, but I had lunch with you and I had dinner with you and like we went and did this thing. Yes, but in the morning, yeah, in the morning I did all the things that make me actually feel excited to be around other people. Like, yeah, no, I'm not busy. That is not me busying myself. That is me prioritizing myself. That is me I love to get up before the sun rises. I like watching the sky get brighter. I like feeling like I was part of the day starting. That makes me feel good. To my husband, that is the least exciting thing. He has never been like the only sunrises he gets up for when we're in Angkor Wat at leading retreats and he watches that sunrise. Every other sunrise he is happy to miss. He doesn't care. He doesn't light his fire because he loves to be up at night. He loves it. So you have to know what makes you feel good, what makes you feel good and fill your cup first. And that might mean trying things out, which isn't that better to make it as small as possible so you can test it out on like on a lower scale that's not so like the stakes aren't as high.
Mm. And when you're feeling like you have a little bit of motivation, you go to onlinepilatesclasses.com, right?
Yes. I mean, I hope people do. I first of all, I have to like if you are like, okay, I don't really I've seen Pilates, I've seen on machines, I don't have a machine. You don't have to have a machine. Joe Supplies created the mat work first, and I was so obsessed with Pilates mat. I didn't even know there was equipment for years. And the mat work is like the hardest thing, but also the most accessible thing. And so you can do it at home. You can do it in 15 minutes. And it's the thing that makes everything else you want to do better because it's the thing that makes your core stronger. I'm not talking your abs, I'm talking your actual core, the muscles around your spine. So it reduces the pain and aches in your back and it allows you to have mobility and longevity. And so, yes, I hope you do, because that would be so much fun to help you do like what if we could help you do more of what you love and have less pain? What if we could help you prioritize yourself? We're really good at that.
How beautiful. So someone is thinking about going to onlinepilates.com. They are scared, they're nervous, they're worried, they've never done it before, they want to prioritize themselves, they have
Mhm.
conflicting, they're working nonstop.
Mhm.
Words of advice to that listener.
Yeah, so one, the good news is you're at home and I can't see you, so there's nothing to be embarrassed about. You could do it in your pajamas. Two, it's also okay if the habit is just pressing play and watching me or my teachers move for a little bit, and then you just going, "Oh, I think I could do that," and trying it out. There's nothing wrong with that. You're still doing Pilates. And then the other thing is that the cool thing about us and the teachers I have on this crew, first of all, my teachers range in age. I'm the youngest at 42, and the oldest is at 57. And they go from 5 feet tall to almost 6 feet tall. I've got two larger bodied instructors. I've got four moms, two of which have special need children, one who's got two kids that are very special needs. And all of them have found a way to not only film for me, but to prioritize their practice as well on top of that. And so you will have a community, not just of the teachers, but of all these people to go, well, what are you struggling with? Okay, let's look at that. Let's help you. We're the only Pilates platform that will look at your form. We actually have a live class every month. So if you're brand new, you can come to that. And afterwards, I can like actually tell you, okay, yeah, so sit there. No, put your arms there, like really give you that information. And so we love beginners and we do not want you to be perfect. We actually remind you constantly it's a practice, not a perfect. And you will actually hear me and my teachers going, oh, that wasn't right. That rep didn't go so well. Let's try that again because we are also in practice too. And so it's something I'm really proud of because I think that there's a plenty of online fitness classes out there that are polished and perfect and their clothes match and the music is great. And that's not real life. And I wanted to create something that was real life.
Love what you said. It's a practice, not a perfect. And it's so
Mhm.
true, I think, with life overall as
Mhm.
well. Beautiful. So, if our listeners are just motivated, they want to learn more about you and your journey, as well as take some online Pilates, what should they do?
So go to onlinepilatesclasses.com. It's the most easy URL ever. onlinepilatesclasses.com. You can go there. If you scroll to the bottom, you can find all the links to anything. We have hundreds, I think thousands of free videos and blogs. And of course, you can join the programs. We also, if you are wanting to meet up in person or do anything special, if you go to opc.me/events, we actually will often do a big event each year, and then we do some in-person events, and that link will tell you like we're coming to a city near you, so that you can meet us and you can say hi and you can feel seen the way you should and be supportive in your practice and in prioritizing yourself. So that's where I'd go.
Amazing. Okay, last question. How are you prioritizing yourself today?
Ugh. Today specifically, I already have done my walk and my Pilates, but I have one more thing to prioritize on myself today, and that is going to the gym to do some strength training because, ladies, we have to strengthen our muscles. And Pilates does that, but also we have to lift some heavy weights when we're getting older. So I'm going to lift some heavy weights. It's not my favorite thing, but I also want to be 100 years old and not leaning on anybody to help me up the stairs. So that's what we're doing. But I will say the one other thing that I also do is drink a lot of water. Do you know that drinking enough water can also be prioritizing yourself first?
And taking deep breaths, I imagine, and doing all the
Yes.
awesome things that your body needs.
Yeah.
Ah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Leslie. I am motivated to go drink some water, take a deep breath, go to online Pilates, and also go lift some heavy weights. So,
I love
and
it. My work here is
the,
done. Thanks for having me.
thanks for listening, everyone. Now get out there and live fearlessly.